Good evening. My name is Carrie V. Dean, and this is another episode of A Dullard Speaking. Tonight, I want to just express my opinion on the question of why blacks cannot be deported. First of all, it's not that we can't be deported. It's a question of the white supremacist that is our president realizing that by deporting blacks, he will be admitting to having entrapped and trafficked in black lives. Not him personally, but through his ancestry that he's trying to whitewash of any such allegations. He would be openly admitting that that is what happened. And that by deporting us, he's covering up yet another ugly truth of white America's history. So you don't get to create history by doing something and taking credit for it as long as you're making money. And then when it becomes a pariah, deciding that, oh, we just won't write about that part of history. Doesn't work like that, because too many others in the world have witnessed what you did. Know what you have done. Know it better than you tell it to your own children. So that is one of the reasons why he's not openly getting rid of blacks. What he's doing is creating hostile situations to make blacks not want to come to this country, to make blacks want to leave this country, but knowing we're entrapped because of the way the government's set up. There's not much we can do to gain the kind of wealth that others can easily gain. A handful of us can. Sure. If that's how you want to live your life. But I'm just looking at my ancestry in the world of entertainment and everything else. Most of them died at really young ages. Why? Because although they gained fame, they did not gain the respect. So the president himself has verified this. Every time he mentions, what did the blacks contribute to America? Nothing but cost and expense. Well, you purchase black lives to come over here to work your farms. Not you personally, but your ancestors. They purchased black people to come over here and do the work they themselves were too candy behind to do. So you're trying to whitewash history to say it was the other way around. You were helping out an impoverished country. Africa was not impoverished until Americans, like their European cousins, started going over there and trafficking in human lives in gold. That's right. Diamonds, gold, a lot of that came from the African culture, the African country. That's right. Did you know Africans had merchants all over the world at any point in time in history? No, most people don't realize that. The only diamonds you'll find in Jerusalem came out of Africa. Think about that. The only diamonds you'll find in Russia came out of Africa. The same with China. The same with every place in the world. Why do you think everyone in the world else laughs at Trump every time he tries to whitewash American history about what we did over here? Because in other countries they did the same thing. Because the black man was ignorant. He was egotistical. He was too busy looking at the other side of the grass and not realizing that what he had was much more precious with all the people coming to him for it. He thought the same way. Oh, guess what? His white compadres did. As long as I got what you need, you got what I want, then we can do a trade. This is the life of dictators, regardless of skin color, is my point. Okay? So no one country or no one people can point to the other and say I'm morally high ground than you because of slavery. No, because in order for us to be trafficked here in America and enslaved here in America, someone had to do the same to us coming out of Africa. Okay? The one true thing Trump has said is yes, our lives were purchased. A small price was pit against each African's life that was trafficked to the Americans. So let's not talk like white men just went into Africa and grabbed people up and brought them over here. That's not what happened. So that's one of the things that history needs to show. It's the nature of the trades. Lots of gold and diamonds were traded out of Africa. Yes, America said, well, we always dealt with the Europeans at first on the gold and all the other stuff. Right, but where did the Europeans get it? Africa. Silver. There are no large depositories of silver mines in America. Guess what? Where did silver come from? Think about that. Africa is one of the most enriched countries around the world when it comes to such resources. So when people say things like, y'all need to just go back to Africa. Well, had your ancestors not brought us over here in chains on a boat, we would still have been in Africa, would have never known anything about America other than what we were reading about America. But you chose to bring us over here to be your labor. Then you didn't want to have to pay us for the labor. That's when we became an inconvenience. But in true white man fashion, you don't deal in inconveniences. You don't deal in what happens when the population starts to grow. You don't deal in what happens with the population at all. You only think of money. When you only think in the world of capital, everything else becomes expendable. Am I lying? Are we not feeling expendable through this administration? Oh, I'm certainly feeling like most American lives are expendable right now. I'm sorry. Capitalists only think in terms of how much money can I make off of someone else's pain. They don't care that you're not living right. They don't care that they're falsely accusing and enslaving people for no reason. They never have cared. All they care about is, I'm getting rich. And as you can see, they turn on each other the second the money stops flowing freely. The tighter the money get, look how they're behaving. They're backbiting, turning on each other, telling on each other. So capitalists, fine. But you know what? The people you brought over here as slaves didn't create the whole situation that our White House is exhibiting. No, we came over here as slaves, as you said. We were like children. You had to teach us everything. Oh, but wait. No, you want to change that narrative now. We were unteachable, so that's why we're the way we are. Because that's how we lived in Africa. And you'll find that that's not how we lived in Africa. In Africa, people had set up lines of free trade among each of the groups. But yeah, every now and then you got an overzealous, greedy chief. But then he got dealt with. And the peaceful trades began again across all the African nations. But then the white man came and introduced himself, and the next thing you know, there weren't free trades across anywhere. Everybody was out for themselves to get the almighty dollar. Because it was the newest thing on the market. And everybody thought that was some pretty hot stuff. Hey, you got people that you put in your country that actually they do all the work and they reap none of the rewards, you got it. That's what America's most famous for: human trafficking. So all this other crap that they tell us in the book about the wheat and the rice and all that stuff, yeah, that's what was produced out of bringing the black slaves to America. Okay, and as each new immigrant came into America, they got the rough treatment as well. But not as bad as the blacks. See, you gave the respect of at least hiding what you were doing to the other immigrants. Well, you didn't hide it so much in the black community. You just come and take us out in public square and shoot, kill us, do whatever you wanted to us. Because we were property. And that's the part that you want to erase. You can't erase that because you're still treating us like property. The only difference, a few white men in Washington decided, well, let's give them at least somewhat of a fair chance at justice. We'll call it civil rights. Well, guess what? Yet again, all the civil rights laws that you guys implemented and all this other stuff, DEI, that you try to alleviate and ease your souls for what was done by your ancestors. That's not our guilt to manage. That is yours. But you're making it, or you're trying to, I shouldn't say try, as you've been doing for years, you offloaded your guilt onto the black people and accuse us of being the perpetrators of starting it. You can't start something that you didn't know was a thing until you were told it's a thing. So, what is my point? No point, just me voicing my opinion. Sure, a lot of people say my opinion stinks, but my opinion is based on what I know are true facts, not a bunch of made up stuff and then we were all of a sudden slaves. You can't have slaves unless you were getting the people from someone else that had already enslaved those people. The only difference is those people weren't enslaved and beaten and treated like trash. In Africa, they were treated less than. There's many ways to treat someone less than. Yes, they had less respect, but they still had dignity because they found their own way to survive. Here in America, they did the same thing. Despite all the traumatic things that happened, I'm still here because that same African spirit drives today. I'm about, 6 generations removed. 6 to 8, I'm not so sure, generations removed from the whole slavery deal thing that went on. But you still recognize you're not the master of your own life here in America. There's nothing honestly written in any documentation that blacks were ever included in the constitutional rights. We were amended as an addition. Because they finally recognized us as a people. Savage people, but we finally start getting recognition as a people. But again, racism doesn't exist because of the color of my skin. Racism exists because capitalists needs us at odds with each other in order to make money. The only way capitalist makes money in the white man's society and how he has it set up is through strife. Not necessarily strife on them, but strife on anyone that's less than, meaning less rich. If you're less rich, the only way a white man makes money is by selling your contract to someone else. How do you think indentured servants came to be? How do you think the whole setup of pimp and hose work? Same setup. Just go down the list of all the illegal setups and how it's set up. Well, now look at today's government with Trump in office and what he's doing. Just following those old school principles. If it's not making money, it's not worth having. Period. That's all it is, folks. But when they're yelling all this racism stuff, all they're doing is getting you to deflect away from what they have told you. And honest, we don't care about you. We just care about you keep making us money. So while we got half the country out here yelling leftist loonies, and the other half of the country saying MAGA cultists, Washington is making money. Who owns Washington and always has? The rich. Period. I don't care who's in office, Democrats or Republicans. The rich. Just shows you that some do have a conscience and have a soul and have some empathy, but most don't. What does it say about a rich man in the Bible? And what Trump's finding out now? Keeps whining and crying about he's near death. Well, guess what, Mr. President? Good luck with that. Because everything you're doing is exactly against the principles that I was taught as a Christian. I've been in the church for many a years, but I'm always in church on a daily basis. So if you're just sitting in a building every Sunday thinking your soul is saved, shame on you. Because Jesus even told you the work of the church is not sitting in a building. It's being out among the people. You're too afraid to go out among the people? Don't know what to say for you. But that is the one guilt the white man can't offload on anyone. That's why America is the way she is now. That's why there's so much hatred for blacks in America. It's not anything we truly did or didn't do. It's the white man's guilt will not let him leave us alone. So there you have it. I guess I can digress. Thank you. If you watch this video and listen, leave a comment.